Imagine this, you spent weeks watching every move, every login, every approval, every transfer. You got the access, you got the timing, and now it's time to execute. Nearly $1 billion set to move in the background. Everything looks normal, nothing is out of place, and then it stops. Not because someone caught you, but because of a single typo. This all started in early 2016. The target was Bangladesh Bank, the central bank of an entire country that has billions in reserves. But the people behind this attack, they weren't anywhere near Bangladesh. They were halfway across the world, watching everything from a distance. And the way they did this wasn't through some high-tech exploit, it was through a phishing email. And someone at the bank clicked the link. The single click gave the attackers the foothold they needed. From there, they moved slowly and quietly. They installed keyloggers, mapped the network, tracked to approve transfers, what systems were monitored, and where the blind spots were. But what they really wanted was access to SWIFT. SWIFT is the system that banks use to send transfer instructions to each other. It doesn't move the money itself, it just sends a message that tells another bank to move it. But in banking, this message means everything. If it looks right, it gets processed with no questions asked, and attackers knew exactly how to make it look right. They had studied it. They knew the formatting, the language, and who to pretend to be. All they had to do was hit send. It was a Thursday night in Dhaka. The offices at Bangladesh Bank were shutting down for the weekend, but on the other side of the world, someone was logging in. They were using the same credentials and had full access. Nothing looked out of the ordinary. And then, the transfer started. 35 requests were sent through SWIFT. All of them looked clean, each one disguised as a routine instruction for Bangladesh Bank to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. The total amount was $951 million. Most of it was headed to the Philippines, a few million to Sri Lanka. The bank accounts receiving the money had already been set up, using fake names and fake nonprofits, with some being tied to casinos where nobody asked too many questions. And back in Dhaka, everything still looked quiet. Part of the reason for that was the printer. Inside the SWIFT room, there was a printer that was supposed to automatically log every outgoing transaction, but that night, it wasn't working. Staff figured it was just a glitch. They tried to restart it, but nothing came out, so they left it alone. It was until the next day, after someone finally got it running again, that the messages started printing, dozens of them. That's when they saw the transfers, all of them. The attackers were just inches away from pulling off one of the biggest digital heists in history. And then, someone made a typo. Out of all 35 transfer requests, a few of them started to raise red flags. One of the payments was meant to go to a fake nonprofit in Sri Lanka, but in the message, the attacker spelled the name wrong. Instead of Shalika Foundation, they wrote Shalika Foundation. That typo stopped the transfer from going through. The request went through Deutsche Bank, and when they saw the name, it didn't match anything in their system. It looked off, so they flagged it. But that wasn't the only issue. Another request included the name of an Iranian shipping vessel under US sanction. That caught the attention of the Federal Reserve Bank in New York and made them take a closer look. Those two details, a misspelled charity and a blacklisted name, were enough to slow everything down. The Fed tried reaching out to Bangladesh Bank to confirm the transfer, but it was the weekend. No one picked up. By the time Monday rolled around, some of the money had already been moved, but most of it was blocked. And just like that, the heist started to fall apart. In the end, these mistakes didn't stop everything. Out of $951 million they tried to steal, $81 million still went through.
News from Bangladesh. Unknown hackers installed a malware in the Bangladesh Central Bank's computer systems before swiping $80 million, suspect investigators. The hackers watched, probably for weeks, how to go about with.
Most of it ended up in 4 accounts at a single branch of RCBC Bank in the Philippines. Accounts that had just been opened weeks earlier, using fake names, and they had no real transaction history. The money landed, and almost immediately it started to disappear. It was broken up, withdrawn, and layered through local casinos where anti-money laundering laws were pretty weak. And once it hit the table, it got harder to trace. Chips were bought, games were played, and the winnings were cashed out as clean money. It was a digital heist that was washed through blackjack, and by the time investigators started following the trail, most of it was already gone, moved offshore, funneled through shell companies, or buried in paperwork that no one could untangle. In the end, only about $15 million was ever recovered. So, who pulled this off? Officially, no one's ever been charged, and there are only speculations, but behind the scenes, investigators and cybersecurity analysts started putting the pieces together. They traced how the system was accessed, how the fake transfer were crafted, and how the money vanished, and everything kept pointing to the same group, Lazarus, a state-backed hacking group believed to operate out of North Korea. It had been tied to some of the most high-profile cyber attacks in the world, like the Sunny Picture hack in 2014 and the WannaCry ransomware outbreak in 2017, and now, maybe this one too. From the phishing email to the way the Swift messages were written, it all felt familiar. Even all that, nothing was ever confirmed, and no one was caught. $81 million was stolen, with most of it never being seen again. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, make sure to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one.